Near the end of last year, I animated the music video Crazy Ragey Play Crazy for the official Hatsune Miku YouTube channel, for the then upcoming collab with Magic the Gathering. For the longest time now, I've been a fan of her. Her music, her design, her two beautiful turquoise locks of hair. There's just something about it that drags me in. And whilst I wouldn't call myself a die-hard fan of her or nothing, clearly I'm not the first to think it. With her hundreds of songs and cross-promotions and new fan art every single day, and now she's even got Fortnite. It's safe to say that she's kind of a big deal. So just how in the hell did I end up making a music video for her? Well, it all starts back in the faraway year of 2024. I'd gotten an idea for a song. I'd often seen people online, mostly Twitter, pretending stuff like Minecraft was created by Hatsune Miku, because the actual creator, Notch, had made a lot of problematic comments. Now, regardless of what you might think of that guy, I was pondering, I wonder what Miku would think about all of this. Constantly being mistaken and given credit for something she didn't do. And so that was the basis for my new song. You're listening to some of it right now. After finishing the song, I started work on a music video. I had a few ideas for funny scenes with Miku in Minecraft, and also started work on a proper 3D model of her. Worth mentioning is that the original design of her was made by my friend Chocoholic Monkey. She also made this cover art for the song, but I'll let her speak for herself.
As someone who draws a lot of Miku fan art, I've always loved putting my own spin on her. Something of a signature move of mine is making one of her pigtails all scrunched up while the other hangs loose, like adding a little bit of spice. For the outfit itself, I kept it pretty simple. Turned the blouse into a crop top, added shorts under the skirt, and streamlined the overall look to make the blender process a lot smoother for Stan. And of course, most importantly, I insisted on that little scrunkly line on her cheek! It was non-negotiable, nothing else was more important.
It was also around here that I sent an email to Krypton Future Media. The people who own Miku. I was really just asking about licensing, like if I could put my song and music video on stuff like Spotify and YouTube. And I included some examples of what I was doing as well, but I forgot about this email shortly after I sent it and went back to work. But fast forward a few weeks and I actually got a reply. Regarding the licensing, they just linked me to the FAQ page. But more importantly, they also said that everyone in the office really liked the gifts I'd sent along, and asked me if I wanted to take part in an upcoming collab between them and Magic the Gathering. This is where I shat my trousers. As you might imagine, I was in complete shock, and I immediately said yes. My own music video had already left me a bit stumped as to how to continue, and now that I got the chance to work on an official music video instead, I figured I'd just focus all my attention on that instead. But unfortunately, what came after is what we might call a long-ass wait. They wanted to work with me, but without a contract, a song, or any form for direction, there's not much I could do. We were sketching up some loose ideas for what we might make though, and I messaged my contact at Krypton back and forth several times to hear about updates and see if I could get a few more details to prepare. After several months, I'd finally gotten a contract though. The deadline was a bit too tight, and we also asked if we could get a smidge more compensation, but they luckily agreed to both. So after about half a year of waiting and writing emails, I'd finally gotten a final contract and signed. There were gonna be 4 music videos made as part of a collab with Magic the Gathering. And we were gonna do number 3. Ours were just around October, and so we set out to make it a Halloween treat, featuring ghouls, ghosts, and pumpkins. The song, by the way, was by Camilla, but it wasn't fully finished, so whilst we did have some lyrics... what the fuck? It wasn't quite enough to get going yet, so I was urging them to give me an early version of the song as soon as possible. And in the meantime, me and Chocoholic Monkey were touching up our ideas and trying to prepare as much as possible ahead of time. She'd made a completely new witch design for Miku, as well as some concepts for the environment.
I'm absolutely in love with the Halloween aesthetic. The combination of purples and oranges just tickles my brain in the best way possible. Believe it or not, but when I was brainstorming the setting for this animation, I was actually heavily inspired by My Little Pony. I think I've just always held onto these mental images from the show of magical tents, beautiful outdoor lights, and all these silly looking prompts scattered around Ponyville from the Halloween episodes or Nightmare Moon episodes. I'm not too sure about that. At the end of the day, I just really wanted to capture that same magical and aesthetic feeling in the final video we would make. That is that.
And with the extra concept art, I also updated Miku's character model, and a few props as well. Since we were still waiting, I was also doing a bit of R&D, and learned about Goo Engine, which is a fork of Blender that gives us more control of stylized shading that wouldn't have been possible in regular Blender at the time. Over the course of the project, I used it to create a special anime shader. I made it to control both the light color and shadow, and sliders to dictate how they transition from one another, and an option for comic dot patterns as well. There's also settings for how much the lights and environment color affects the surface, and finally a little bit of control for some extra rim light. This same shader is used for nearly every object in the entire music video, with just a few extra tweaks wherever it was necessary. Miku herself also had a lot of unique pieces. The skin, for example, still uses that main anime shader, but also with one big red texture to add blushing and redness to her skin, and there's a subtle shine on top as well. Her eyes, hair, and bottom of her hat has this almost ethereal star background peeking through, which really just starts out as a simple Voronoi texture, with extra notes that change its colors and coordinates. Her hair and eyes also have their own complicated shaders set up, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Since we finished the music video, Goo Engine actually took part in a big bootcamp to help Blender figure out ways to improve their stylized rendering options. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. Now, I'm not saying that my music video is the sole responsible reason for that, but I will show you this graph detailing the events in order, so, make up your own theories about that one. We'd agreed to get the music video done before the 21st of August, and whilst we did have lyrics, without an actual song to match, it was still pretty hard to actually finish our storyboards. We were trying our best to draft out the scenes with the limited info we had though. Finally, about 1.5 months before the deadline, we finally got an early draft of the song though, meaning we had no more roadblocks. Now with the lyrics and music, we could rough out all the shots. I made each cell in the storyboard be just a few seconds each and marked down the lyrics and time so we had a better idea of the pacing. We sketched out ideas all over the place. Some were reorganized a few times, some ideas we scrapped completely in favor of others, but after roughly a week we had a decent plan for the entire music video. When planning the storyboard with so little time left, we were trying to think of smarter ways to reuse existing scenes to cut down on work. Early on, we decided we were gonna have one big scene with a stage and a crowd, a kind of huge magic pool and hundreds of paper ghouls coming out of it to cheer. A handful of scenes with Miku and a witch's broom flying through the sky, her and a frog around a big cauldron, multiple scenes with Miku in this ethereal void, surrounded by more frogs, and Miku scaring Rin and Len in a little tent. Those two and all the ghouls in the big crowd, we decided we'd make as big paper cutouts. With the limited time we had, it would have been impossible to make actual 3D character models for all of them. So it felt like a decent compromise. At some point I had also created a spreadsheet with all of the shots, so we could track our progress and see how many unique scenes we were doing. I could see exactly how many shots that were left and how many times a specific location was used. So this, together with the storyboards, became a blueprint for everything going forward. For the actual animating, what I'd do was first of all set up the cameras and a very rough block out of Miku's movement. You can see in the spreadsheet that I worked on multiple shots at the same time. Since I was the sole animator, it was nice to have the ability to go back and forth between different stuff, to not get burned out on one single thing. There was also a lot of dancing shots, and while I can bust a bit of a move, this was a very difficult thing to get down. Apart from the main big stage, most of the scenes were made only for the camera's view. So moving the camera around it all, you can see that the illusion easily breaks. And there's also a lot of instances where I just avoid animating parts of her body entirely, if they aren't directly in view. After the main chunk of animation was done for each shot, I'd do the lip syncing and facial expressions. I had made a big set of different poses I could reuse, so lip syncing wasn't too difficult in the end. I just went through frame by frame and gradually slipped the poses over until it looked right. Whilst I was doing all of this, I intermittently sent updates to Krypton about our progress, and it was surprisingly smooth the entire way through. There were almost no critiques about anything we did, so we just kept at it. When a scene was finally fully animated, it's time for rendering and some light compositing. Similar to the anime shader, I had made one big compositing node to add a kind of unique lens flare effect and everything. Also, using a special output of just the shadows from my anime shader, I was able to add a kind of warm light around the edges of all the shadows in the scene, similar to how a lot of people paint. The only thing left was adding the promo with the actual magic cards. With that, on the 29th of August, we were officially finished. After about 2 months of hard work, it was now time to just sit back and relax and wait for it to be released. It was honestly kind of anticlimactic, like, now what? When the video was finally published on YouTube though, it made it all worth it. I am really thankful that I got the opportunity to make this. I'll probably keep bragging about it for a couple more years. Creating this making of video was honestly its own battle. As you can tell, it's taken me over a year to finally get my thoughts out on the whole experience. And I've written and rewritten this entire script at least 5 times by now. But hopefully it was worth the wait. If you're new to the channel, I am still planning more fun animations with Miku and maybe even other characters. I also post both shorts and videos about my game dev experience, especially the game I'm currently working on, Pingu Lost and Wanted. I talk about it in more detail here, so please give it a watch and follow me for more updates. Subscribe, follow me on whichever socials you prefer, and leave a comment to boost the algorithm. It's all really appreciated. Also, lastly, one more huge thanks to everyone at Krypton Future Media for letting me make this music video for them. I'd love to work with them again, so with luck, maybe there can be more one day. Anyway, this video is already incredibly long, so I'm gonna finally sign off. Have a great time, and see you all soon.